What is going on, you beautiful, beautiful bastards? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I am Brandon Sylvia. Thank you all for joining me here today to talk about the games of January, kicking off the new year in a big way here. Honestly, not really that big of a kickoff. Not a ton coming out in January that I am really looking forward to at all, honestly. So this will probably be one of the shorter videos I've ever done on the channel. Probably the shortest video I've ever done on the channel if I had to make a prediction here. But we'll try to find some way to throw a little spice in here. I mean, to be fair, there are a couple games releasing in January that I am going to check out, that I am interested in diving into. But yeah, I love doing this series, love chatting with you guys about the games releasing in the coming months to look forward to. And every now and then, you're going to run into a slower month and you got to kind of adjust on the fly, figure out how to wrap this all in together. And I'm not going to try to overextend the video, make it 30 minutes just because all the other videos are 30 minutes. If we got to make this a 14, 12-minute video, so be it. That's the way the cookie crumbles here. But we have some shit to dive into at the back end that I think will be fun, and I want to include you guys in on this at the back end. So I'm really looking forward to that, and yeah, we'll talk about all that in a second. But let's go ahead and dive into the games releasing in January that I plan on diving into, the games that I am looking forward to personally. And we got to go all the way to January 24th for the first game that is appealing to me, and that is Forspoken. Now, I know a lot of people played the demo of Forspoken and were not left with the hottest impressions coming off of the demo, and I just kind of wonder if the combat will be enough for me, because pretty much everything that I'm hearing is that the dialogue is atrocious, that the writing is atrocious. But I feel like I'm one of the more lenient people with that stuff. Like, that's usually not one of my big complaints with games. And if the combat, if that sort of crazy ass magical, if those magical abilities can combine with some cool ass movement and fluidity in that world, and if there's any sort of destructibility, like, those things are a lot more compelling to me than if the writing or if the dialogue is good or not. And I mean, the premise of this modern character, being thrown into this different dimension, and like, there's things about the story that are interesting to me, but I gotta be honest, like, if the combat is good, I'm sold on that alone. I heard someone compare it to Infamous, and as soon as I heard that comparison, I was kind of just sold on Forspoken. I probably should have checked out the demo and seen if it felt solid to play, that if that moment-to-moment gameplay loop felt solid. But I don't know, man. The team that made Final Fantasy 15, and I know that's not one of the more beloved Final Fantasy games. That's a team working on Forspoken, so that doesn't leave me with the highest of expectations. But if I'm being totally honest, I'm just a sucker for these style of games, the big open world third-person action adventure experiences. That's like my favorite genre outside of survival horror. So for that alone, I'm probably going to dive into it. And with January just being such a slow month of games that are appealing to me, then might as well dive into Forspoken and see what the hell I can get out of it. And I feel like I'm one of the few people on the internet going into Forspoken and not like wanting to hate the game. So I don't know, maybe if I check it out with an open mind, I can maybe provide a perspective that people don't really find often on the internet regarding that game. So I kind of want to check it out for that reason as well. But yeah, Forspoken, January 24th. And then we go to January 27th for Dead Space, the remake. And this is one that I for sure am looking forward to. But being totally fair, is this a game that really needs to be remade? Probably not. The 2008 game still holds up incredibly well. It is very playable by today's standards. this is kind of like right there on that line of remakes that I feel like I'm not too comfortable supporting, but it's also on that line of I feel like if this game doesn't get support, then EA is going to take a knife to the back of the entire Dead Space IP, and I feel like this could be the last we see of Dead Space if it doesn't sell well. So you're fighting an uphill battle against EA here. And I think I'm going to go out and buy this thing. And I am, to be totally fair, craving a little bit of that Dead Space third person Resident Evil 4 inspired action. Callisto didn't really hit it for me. And, with the more melee focused combat with Callisto, I'm kind of just looking for a more like third person traditional shooter. And yeah, I'm always down to replay Dead Space. And I think that I will probably be checking this out on January 27th. EA Motive, I know that they're working on that Iron Man game as well, or they will be working on that Iron Man game when they finish up with Dead Space. So I don't think that even if this thing does incredibly well, I don't see us getting more from Dead Space for a while until that Iron Man game is finished. If, EA Motive is going to be the team that continues working on Dead Space after Iron Man. But yeah, I just want to see this franchise continue on. I like the idea of having, Isaac with the full voice acting from the get-go. I like, the zero gravity shit being retuned and kind of made more approachable for a modern audience and just better overall. Even going back to it, I played it a couple years ago. Like, that is for sure something that needs to be ironed out. So it seems like they're taking the right steps forward to making this a more polished and overall enjoyable experience. And that's something I can commend, but at the same time, I can look at this remake and go, is that something I really need remade compared to, like, I don't know if they still have the rights to, like, Mercenaries and shit like that, but of course, I would much rather have something like that brought back, or NBA Streets, or your Def Jam Vendettas, like those EA big games. There's a lot more in the EA catalog that I would much rather see revived. Whoa, let me take a huge step back there. There's a lot more in the EA catalog that I would much rather see remade than Dead Space. Revived, totally different thing. Like, if I could just get a Dead Space reboot or a Dead Space 4, I think I would take that over almost anything in the EA catalog, period. But classic games that need to be remade, the EA has a lot more higher priority games for me than Dead Space, because I think Dead Space just still holds up so damn well. Okay, and then we go to January 31st for Season, A Letter to the Future. And this is a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC exclusive. And yeah, this kind of just, looks like you're going to be riding around on your bicycle a lot, taking pictures of the towns, and just sort of vibing. I feel like this is going to be one of those like tearjerker games, one of those ones that gets you. It sneaks up on you. It has that deceptive art style, but somehow it just really fucking it hits you in the feels. And I think it's only like $30, so this is I'm into these serene kind of chill experiences. It's developed by Scavenger Studio and published by Scavenger Studio, small indie team here. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of Lake, that released in 2021, where you were playing as like the little mail carrier, and you're just dropping off your mail, interacting with the different people in the town, and just like one of those good vibes games, something to play, relax. I love these style of games. You put it on, right before you're about to go to bed, just play an hour of it, really relax you, because you're not going to be doing a lot. I imagine there's not going to be many frustrating gameplay mechanics in Season, A Letter to the... But to be fair, and to counter myself here, is that with Lake, that game was buggy as a motherfucker, and that was hella frustrating, and that's kind of the antithesis to serene, relaxing experiences. The last thing you want in your serene, relaxing experience is a lot of bugs to go in there and fuck shit up. So we'll see what with Season A Letter to the Future. I really like the art style here. I really like the idea of just cruising around on your little bicycle and taking pictures and shit. And I like these emotional games, man. I'm a big ass baby. You know, it's easy to bring a tear to my eye. So I don't mind, you know, I don't, as long as you have something else interesting. It can't just be you're trying to get me emotional and then I'm doing nothing with the damn game. Like, give me something fun to mess around with. And then if you also can bring a tear to my eye, more power to you. And so that's what I'm hoping for Season A Letter to the Future. Okay, and how about some other notable releases, games that are coming out in January that aren't for me, but games that I do still think are worth mentioning. And let's go ahead and start it off at January 13th. We got a couple big hitters here. We have One Piece Odyssey. I know this is a big anime thing. I'm not an anime guy, but from what I have seen of this game, I have to be totally honest. This looks fucking sick. Like, this looks like it could be an all-time anime style game. You just, I don't know, you don't have a ton of really, really great ones. We're going to talk about another really, really great one here in a second, but One Piece Odyssey, like it has that turn-based sort of battle system. The visuals are stunning. The world looks great. The characters look great. Like, this looks really, really good. If I had any investment into this franchise, into this anime, I would probably be checking this out. And I imagine that many millions of fans are going to be diving into this, and yeah, it looks really fucking cool. January 13th for One Piece Odyssey. Next up, also on January 13th, we have Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, its next gen release, so drop in on your Series X's and your PS5s. I loved Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, played it in 2020, and just had a blast with this. This was like a dream game for me as a kid. Whenever I was a kid playing like DBZ Sagas and those kind of janky PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games, I'd always dreamed about, you know, when I'm playing my Grand Theft Autos or whatever, just dreamed about an open world Dragon Ball Z style game. And Kakarot delivers in spades on that. I really, really loved this game. And I think it's not one I would buy full price because I already, you know, played it and bought it on the PS4. But I think when this goes on sale, I probably will buy it again just so I can have like the next gen version of it if I ever want to go back to Kakarot. Okay, and on January 19th, we have Persona 3 and 4 coming to all the modern platforms. These games aren't my thing at all, but they are about as beloved of a JRPG series as you can possibly get. So now getting, you know, the definitive next-gen version of both of the games, I'm sure people are stoked for that. Shin Megami Tensei 3 also dropping on January 19th as well. Really looking at it, there's a ton of big JRPG games dropping in January, which, to be fair, there's not a ton of new ones dropping, but we do have quite a few, you know, big re-releases and shit like that. And a new one that is dropping is Fire Emblem Engage on January 20th. So that will be coming exclusively to the Switch. Monster Hunter Rise on January 20th as well, finally coming to consoles that will, you know, make it look somewhat decent. Dropping on your PS4s, your PS5s, your Xbox Series X and S's, and your Xbox Ones. And then on January 23rd, we have SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake. So a brand new SpongeBob game, and it actually, to be totally honest, looks fucking cool. It looks like definitely has some Psychonauts 2 energy going on with it, and I could see myself really enjoying this. Like, this is one I might have to keep my eye on. If it does incredibly, incredibly well with the reviews and shit, I might have to dive into a little SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake. It's just the platforming looks really, really good, man. It looks really, really good with old SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake, January 23rd. All right. Now, next up, let's talk about the plans for January outside of the new releases. Because, like I said, I have three things there. I have Forspoken, Dead Space Remake Season, A Letter to the Future. Forspoken, that'll probably be a 20-30 hour game. Dead Space Remake, you can knock that out in 2 playthroughs. Season, A Letter to the Future, I'm assuming that's a 1 playthrough style of game. So I'm going to have a lot of open time in January, open gaming time in January. And I want to include you guys in that. So some of you may have voted or may have noticed the poll I sent out on my community tab, which I didn't even know I unlocked the community tab. I don't know when that happened. I was just like messing around with my channel over the break, and I saw the community tab. And I was just thinking it was something like, trying to encourage you to keep going on. Like, you can't use it yet, but once you get 1,000 subscribers, you can. I always thought that you had to have 1,000 subscribers to get a community tab, but I guess that is not the case anymore. So I have the community tab, and I put out a vote there of some different games that I was thinking about checking out in January with the downtime here. And I put out some games specifically that I was wanting to replay. It'd been a while since I had replayed any of the games on that list. And as of recording this, it is December 26th, and Bully is running away with the vote. So it's currently sitting at Batman Arkham Asylum, 16% of the vote, Bully at 45%, Uncharted 4 at 13%, Resident Evil 4 at 6%, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at 19%. So looking like I'm going to go ahead and boot up some Bully here probably as soon as I finish recording this, dive into a little Bully action and get that going. But after I finish playing Bully, my plan is to put up another poll for you guys to vote on. And, I'll dive into the replay with Bully, finish that up. But I think the next poll is going to be to knock some games off the backlog, or at least knock a game off the backlog. And depending on how much, how long or how much time I have in between finishing the game off the backlog and the next release that drops, which would probably be Forspoken, maybe can slot one more game in there, but at least one more game other than Bully. And you guys will be voting on that if you would like to vote on that for the backlog game. And I'll probably have like Dishonored 2 in there. That's one that's very, very high on my backlog list that I know isn't incredibly long. Silent Hill 4 is another one that I need to knock off. And I have heard that game is incredibly challenging and can take a bit longer just due to how difficult it is. BioShock 2 is another one that I need to play as well, a high priority backlog game. So I'll have like those three and a couple other ones, just kind of check in that community tab periodically. And as soon as I finish Bully, I'll put up another poll with 5 more games that I'm looking to dive into. And you guys can, pick the game that you would prefer me to dive into and cover here on the channel, do a little review for it and all that shit, or have it included in the what I'm playing video, and I'll review it and talk about it there. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna do those periodically. Now that I realized I have the damn community tab, I'll just drop some selections in the community tab, let you guys vote on it, and yeah, I know that Retro Rivals does that, and that they say they like having it that way to where the community can have some input on what gets played and what gets covered on the channel. So I'm going to take a page out of their book and use that feature to let you guys vote on what the hell I check out. So Bully will be first, and next it'll either be Dishonored 2, BioShock 2, Silent Hill 4. I can't really off the top of my head think of 2 other games, but you guys will see it and just drop the vote of your preferred game when you see that poll come up, and that will be the other game that I play in January alongside with Forspoken, Dead Space, and Season, A Letter to the Future. So that is what January is looking like for me. But yeah, man, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you all had a great holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and I hope you all have a great 2023 as well. I hope you get all the shit you deserve and desire, all the things you worked hard for. I hope they all begin to, start laying out, coming to fruition there for you. And yeah, best wishes to you all. Shoot the breeze with me in the comments. See you guys soon. Take it easy. Have a good one. Goodbye.